he was just selling one of the old trucks, and I looked at it and oh my God. Yeah.
Hey man,
that's where everybody
if we had newspapers, if we had newspapers, we'd be reading them.
Yeah, that's right.
This is the modern day newspaper.
That's exactly right.
But no, but that thread is a really good one, and I always
awesome,
wondered if other crafts could adopt it.
Oh, I'm
somehow.
sure. No, that's a great format. That's a great format.
When people start seeing it every Friday, or at least every Monday, or every whatever, the same day,
They'll start glomming onto that. Oh, it's Friday.
They'll start,
Or even if they, I mean, as you're busy, you'll do it Saturday. You'll come out.
Yeah, people will post on this all the way through Monday.
Sure.
Tuesday.
Sure.
Eventually, I'll shut it down like Thursday because we start the next one.
Yeah.
So I'll just close comment.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
But it's a really good way for people to keep in touch with each other.
Yes.
And keep everybody's names fresh in their heads. You always got to stay connected.
Absolutely.
Some people that get on a show, a long-running show, it's like,
oh, you know what? Yeah, because you're lost to the community.
You are.
You're not hearing from anybody. You know what I mean?
And you gotta wake people up and say, oh yeah, I'm back. Who? Me?
Yeah.
No, it was oh my God, I don't even remember. LA film. I know, right? It's just...
There we are. Okay, I better start sharing. If you want to share the show, go to Applebox Network right now, and then share it to whoever you want to from there, any of your groups.
Oh, just Applebox Network?
There's Applebox Network, yeah, and then just go down, don't share it from there, but just go to it, and go to where it's actually playing on the site. Right there. Yeah, now share it. You can share it from there. And you can share it to your you know how to do that. Share to groups.
Yeah, right.
But that's where we're gonna get. God, we got 9 viewers already. That's great. Too many filmmakers. Okay.
Big Ben over here.
That's it. We've been talking for 2 years about getting a clock, but I don't think we need one. Yes, please do. Please do. Please do. Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, now you didn't charge us.
Oh, we're at 13, 15. That's it, Chris. No, we got a celebrity. Got a celebrity here today.
You know, you're shining me on. You know you have like 40 or 50 by now. You're like, oh,
Yeah, they're all our bots. Yeah, Sean, we need some viewer bots. We need viewer bots, buddy.
do it.
We need about 50 people on there all the time. We need viewer comments too, and viewer likes, and bot likes, bot comments and bot likes.
Those sunglasses on, you look like you had a lot of fun last night. Whatever it was you did, looks like you had a lot of fun.
30 seconds, we're up. Wow.
That's funny, the delay. I'm just not drinking.
You gonna open up to me? Oh, got you. Hey everybody, welcome. Friday at 2 o'clock, got to be Burnie's Applebox, and we got a great guest today. I'm going to introduce right away, Mr. Chris Howland. How you doing, brother?
Good, how are you?
All right, very good,
So good
very
to see
good.
you.
I know we met on this guy's set. Let me introduce the guys. Tony Hope. We met on Tony's set
Hey, Tony.
10 years ago or something like that. We got Sean. Sean Ryan is doing the honors today. So we met on Tony's set 10 years ago, and I know we've back then I don't think we had social media at that time, but somewhere along I hooked up with you again, did another show with you again, I think.
Yep.
And we've been good buddies ever since.
Yeah, it's been really cool seeing the development of Burnie's Applebox, everything you've been doing for the community, and I've kind of been on my same path with production sound community as well.
Yes,
so
yes.
it's kind of nice for us to finally meet up here.
Great. No, and I've been watching your meetups, and you showed me what, and we'll go over this, some of your Facebook and social media stuff. Amazing, dude. Great job bringing that community together, because us as grip guys and G&E, we do have a little group always together on set.
Yep.
But audio is just one or two guys usually. You know, it's not a big group.
It's kind of funny. We're definitely. I feel like whenever we're on set, we are our world is defined by what camera G&E are doing.
Yes.
And for me, that I love capturing performances, and I love dialing in the mix and getting all my chess pieces in the right place. But for me, the best part is the integration.
Oh, absolutely.
Is watching you and your crew work, and us finding the little places where we can be to get what we need to get done and not impede what you're doing.
Well, you know what? We're always watching sound too.
Yeah.
Because we want to see where you're putting the mic. That's where the key light goes.
Always.
Yeah.
We stand in the best spot.
You do. You've been consistent throughout my career.
Yep.
It's been very good. You know what? We're going to talk about a few things, Chris, and I want to get your take on these. And I know Tony's got some things to say, and I want to get Sean's input too on several different things that I've been posting on that I have found have risen to the surface. And I was telling these guys before you came in, I go, I kind of feel like the town crier here in the last couple of weeks. I've seemed to have had an issue every day with someone or something going on in our industry. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because, you bring it up with your group and bringing the sound people together. We are so isolated in our industry. We are very separate, and we do our things. We run into all the same problems. We meet all the same people. However, we do it in a singular way. And it really helps, I think. That's part of the reason for the show here. Part of the, obviously, reason for having you on. Is to speak to the wider community and let them know you're not alone out there. We all have these issues and things coming up.
Right.
So I want to go through just a few things right now for the whole community here. One is, and this starts out, and we discussed this a little bit. In the Bay Area, they are apparently having a rash of armed robberies of news crews, mostly news crews, because I think those are a little more predictable than we are, obviously. If there's an event where there's going to be news, there's going to be a crew out there. And this one incident, which happened, I believe, on February 23rd, I believe. I'm not 100% on that. But an armed person came up to a news crew, KPIX, up in San Francisco in the Bay Area there, and with a gun, and wanted the camera. And of course, the camera guy gave it to him. Gave him and they did it. And I think they hit somebody, or maybe a gun went off. Well, KPIX, because of this very problem, had hired a security guard, an armed security guard. He took his gun out and fired at the guy, and there was gun exchange.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, this is at the news. This is, someone reporting on another news event. And so a guy comes dragging his ass in a couple hours later to a hospital, 2 gunshot wounds, and obviously he was arrested.
There was one incident in the sound community where there was a recording circulated. It was a short film shooting in the Bay Area. The mixer, I cannot remember who it was, but he had a small bag rig. It was a very small crew shooting a narrative piece, maybe 10, 12 people on the crew.
Right.
And he has this type of rig by Zaxcom where all the lav mics have individual recorders on them, as well as, you can record in the bag. So gunmen burst in, they steal the cameras, they take the sound bag, gunpoint, and they leave. But all the other transmitters that were on actors were still recording. So they were able to pull that recording and have a really nice quality recording of the heist. And that circulated on our Facebook group for a bit. But it was, it's just to hear the brazenness in the guy's voice.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, just give us your stuff. It's like that you have a lot of gear there and you're exposed. You know?
Oh, no, you are not, and nor should you ever resist, try to overpower the guy, do whatever, you know what I mean? The smart money, and I tell this to myself because I know our natural instinct is to attack and kill when somebody does something like that to us.
Right.
At least mine is. I'm not going to put you in that category. Mine is.
To defend yourself. But
and to defend it, and of course, we have an emotional attachment to our gear, right or wrong.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah, we do. But that's but when you're working on those small crew jobs, and you're kind of stealing locations, or you're just kind of this alley looks great. This is the downside of it. This is very tough thing to do.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? I remember back in the day too. There was more security on set. Nobody spends. I mean, which we'll get into here in a moment too. Rates, but they are battling now for cost. They're not going to send an armed crew out there. So this is something I would just warn people: be very, very cautious of. Be very cautious of your surroundings. I would suggest in the safety meeting that I know you have every day before you shoot, that everybody talk about being aware of that surroundings and communicating with each other if you see something that looks even remotely questionable. Right. Because if you're out there without security, your life is on the line for that equipment. That camera that they're going to steal and probably sell for 1/5 of its value is still worth probably $10,000, some dollars.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's a big, big deal. People rob and kill for less.
Well, in these days too, even the sound bag. I mean, my sound bag with a 633 and Electro 411s, that's 30 grand. Somebody walks away with that. Nowadays, the sound bag is worth almost as much or more than your C300.
That's right. That's right. Well, just to put it in context too, the tape roll in my truck, that's worth $300.
Yes.
You know what I mean? As stupid as that sounds,
I've paid $20 for Permacell paper tape.
Yeah, right. So that's something to really keep in mind, and that's something I wanted to tell everybody out there. Please don't assume you're safe. I do. I always have a false feeling of security on set because it's the place I love, the place I've worked for so long, everything like that. But you do not. You are out there and you are vulnerable. Please. And producers, get some security. Get some security. Something and have a plan if that happens too. Who's your first call? Who are you going to go to? All right, Tony's rushing me along, but that's good. He's under orders to do that. So that's one thing. Sean, I would like it. Could you play? What we're going to talk about now is just to finish on, I'm going to have you play my piece in just a moment here that I did for Facebook. And what it is this. I want you to follow along with me, and we're going to show you a piece that I did on Facebook and that's getting some positive reaction.
Yep.
Follow along here. So we all know last week I did a show, or 2 weeks ago I did a show about that they weren't going to show the cinematography award and the editing award at the Academy Awards to save time. Well, during our show, they had reversed the decision, which we were really thrilled to hear.
Yeah.
And I want to just make sure that I'm not, I'm still lucid. We did not change that. The ASC had a meeting with the Academy, and it's the good people at the ASC that I think I was really, really, really proud of that organization because they really spelled it out I think, the way it needed to be spelled out. So the ASC saved that, and they had reversed their decision. So we found that out. So then I'm all excited. Sunday, right? I can watch the Academy Awards again. I'm going to see who won for cinematography. And it was Alfonso Cuarón for Roma.
Right.
And I didn't think much of that. I know he had won the director for the same movie. Right. So he was the director and DP, and that rang a little bell because I didn't know that before. And I thought more probably publicity should have been paid to that, being such a unique thing. But then I looked into it a little more, and I talked to a few of my friends down in the Mexican production community, and they say, no, we're very upset about this. They said Alfonso Cuarón was not the DP. It was a gentleman named Galo Olveras.
Right.
And so I saw, and they didn't send me this, but I saw in an article, because the Mexican press is really covering this, okay? They're really covering this, that Alfonso was the director, and Gallo was listed on the call sheet for all 119 days of the movie as director of photography. However, when that movie went to the film festivals to get picked up by a buyer, which Netflix ultimately bought it, the DP's name was, his title in the credits was changed to camera operator / cinematic collaborator. And a term I know you or I have never heard.
No.
Never heard. And I was, you and I, everybody can say they're a gaffer or a DP. You can make up your own title and be that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't think you can make one up that's not there, though, can you? I mean, I don't know what that was. So anyway, that sparked my interest. So I got looking into it. And the more, and I talked to friends down in Mexico, and they were saying, I go, well, was this a deal with the production company? Was this a deal with the production company? And he knew it all along going, and they go, no. And I said, well, why isn't he saying something? He goes, well, he had to sign an NDA. So now, I've never heard of this.
Gallo had to sign an NDA?
Yes. And I think the whole camera department, not to be able to talk about it. So I've tried to get a hold of Gallo with no success so far.
Right.
But they're telling me that they had to sign an NDA and they can't speak about this because they are under NDA. I have never heard of a production crew being under an NDA after the movie is over. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've never heard of that. And what's the big friggin' secret? What did you do something in that movie nobody else knows about?
It's never in the crime, it's in the cover-up?
Yeah, right, right. We're seeing that. Like, thank you. There's your brownie point.
Right.
He gets it today. Line of the day right there. So anyway, play that, Sean, so I don't go on anymore and do it. But this is what I posted, and I'll tell you where we're at with that right now when we get back. Hey everybody, how you doing? Burnie here with the Applebox Network. Listen, I just want to put this out there. This is something that I posted about a few days ago, and every day something new comes up, and it's kind of confusing. So let me run through this with you. And for all of our non-production people, just pay attention. It's pretty simple to understand, I think. First of all, we're going to be talking about who won the Cinematography Award at the Academy Awards. That was Alfonso Cuarón, who was the director of Roma. Now, he was also listed as director of photography and won the Cinematography Award at the Academy Awards. Got up, made a nice speech, did all that, very good. However, throughout the entire 119 days of shooting, a fellow named Galo Olveras was listed as the director of photography along with Alfonso Cuarón. Okay? So, when the film went to film festivals in early 2018, the credits were changed for Gallo's job. It said he was camera operator / cinematic collaborator, which is a term I have never heard before. I've never seen anybody hired like that on a movie set as a cinematography collaborator. So that's one thing. And now the man doesn't, and Alfonso, when he even mentioned Gallo's name. okay, which is kind of weird. And I found all of this after I watched the awards. I found all of this out. So I'm wondering, why didn't he mention Gallo's name if he was such a contributor to the cinematic thing? And why wasn't even Gallo named and got his own award for that? Because he collaborated on it, you know? And think about where this takes us. Now, what I understand is that Gallo and the camera department are all under non-disclosure agreements not to talk about the film. I don't know if that's a fact, but if it is, think about the implications of that. Can the director just come and Netflix and a big studio just say, hey, you're going to sign this NDA and we're going to give the wardrobe category in the Academy Awards to the director? It wouldn't fly. It doesn't fly here either. So what I'm calling on is for Alfonso Cuarón, Gallo Alvarez, and especially Netflix, who is the studio that made it and whose responsibility is to make sure everybody is treated fairly on that film. I would like to come forward and tell me what's going on. And is this going to happen again? And is cinematic collaborator somebody you can hire on your set so you don't have to hire a real DP? I'm wondering that big time. Anyway, that's it. That's what I'm fighting for. Please follow me on this, and I would like your input. Thanks. We'll see you soon. So there you have it in a nutshell. I'll tell you where I'm at with this now. Here's what my most current thinking is. Just stick with me for a second here. When Alfonso was up there getting that cinematography award, did not ever say Gallo's name. He never even indicated that it had any help on that, as I remember that. And frankly, in our collaborative art form that we call entertainment, movies, TV shows, there's no room for that. Everybody has a place at the table. You are not on a set unless you're supposed to be there. That's number one. I think a lot of people don't understand that. It's not like a spectator sport, like, ooh, nice take. Okay, let's see another one. You know, it is hard work, and you're out there doing it, and you're sweating bullets to get it right all the time.
And you have the whole team behind you helping you get to that point.
Your team and everybody has a role. Everybody is filling a role. There's no extra weight there. So what I'm saying is this. I think this is my best guess at what happened. Is Netflix picked up Roma in the film festivals, right?
Right.
They took a look, and I think this was all understood and done prior to them buying it, because I'll bet there was some negotiation before it went in the film festival. Who's going to buy Alfonso Cuarón's movie? Come on, he's a winner director of Gravity. You know what I mean? Who's going to buy that movie? You know. So I think that Netflix was involved with that negotiations, and I think they looked and says, you know what, this is a Netflix movie going to the Academy Awards. One of the first times this has happened. We need every statue we can get, right? So I think, so what chance do we stand with Gallo Alvarez, who is, the movie was made in Mexico, you know what I mean? He's not in the IA here. You know, he is not a member of the ASC. No one knows him. He's not going to get any goodwill votes, you know what I mean? Because no one knows the guy, even if they thought he was good. I mean, they'll vote for him if they thought he was good, but nobody knows the guy.
I think my pure speculation is from a studio standpoint, like Netflix, if you're going to try and win statues, if you're going to use, have Gallo as the DP of that movie, then you're going to have to promote that fact extra hard since nobody knows him.
Thank you.
But I think for people at Netflix, they were saying, well, having Alfonso as the DP, that's a much easier sell for us.
That's a very much easier sell.
Then they, the tail wags the dog.
Yes.
And that's where my speculation is, where that change came from.
I'm with you 100% there. I'm with you 100% there. And somebody like Alfonso, even if he doesn't like the idea, you don't tell the studios what to do when you're a filmmaker. The studios tell you what to do. I think a lot of people don't get that. There is no one so powerful, Spielberg included, anybody, you name them, they are not more powerful than the studios. The studios are more powerful than any filmmaker, any film, or chain of theaters or network or anybody else. Right. They're more powerful than that. And now they're all owned by multinational companies.
Right, and they're the buyers.
They're the buyers. They're the buyers. So I think there was influence on Alfonso to do this. Mm-hmm. I think that the real director of photography, I think the real DP, I think the guy who should have been, at least at the very minimum, a co-winner with Alfonso, right, is Gallo Olvera. And I think this is a shame. I think it's an outrage. And I think that if you are out there, you should be pissed about this, because this is what they do to you. We all imagine ourselves up there on that stage. When we do that, their victory is our victory, you know? And this is where we'll all end up if we don't say something and make a bigger deal about it. They robbed the guy because they could rob him. It's just like if you're going to go rob somebody, right? Are you going to pick out the bodybuilder? Or are you going to pick up the old man who's just waddling across? They took the least powerful person and took it from him. And that's not fair.
Yeah. It's and it could be attributed to the Netflix factor. There's so many places across the industry.
The Netflix factor.
Ever since Netflix started, they have changed the industry for better and for worse. Yeah, for better and for worse across the industry. That's had a ripple effect that all of us feel. And who knows what the future holds, you know? But it's as these lines of these SVOD series and all these platforms, they're all finding their market share, and they're all settling in right now.
And things are exciting. They're changing in a very new and dynamic way. This is which is great news for us. But let me tell you, people, they're going to roll over you every chance they can. And I'm not just making that up. That's what they are. You know, a corporation isn't a person, right? It's a being. It's something organic. But it's just like a tagger. A tagger isn't a tiger. I always mispronounce it. Tiger is not intellectually thinking about eating. He sees an opportunity and grabs it. That's instinct. That's natural. Corporation is the same way. They are not thinking about what's the right thing to do. They are thinking about what is the most financially best thing to do. They are eating. That's what they do. I don't hold the corporation guilty. I hold the people who are making the immediate decisions on behalf of the corporation guilty. You know. So what I'm saying, before we go on too long, we got to get on with it, but please, people, look at this issue. Please look at this issue. If in a different department, sound, makeup, wardrobe, all of this could happen. What if Alfonso would have won the wardrobe thing? Now, come on. I mean, but the same thing happened here.
He could have nodded at the wardrobe and said, "Yes, I like that." And
I like that, and now he's the wardrobe because. But they had a wardrobe collaborator on set too.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
We don't want to go down that slippery slope. We don't want to create. Don't want to create the
audio collaborator. I'm starting to see how this works now. Yeah, that's so people, fight this. Yeah. Fight this. Join me and fight this. And here's my real thing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Tony. Put the clock away, because I just thought of this. Here's the real thing. Here's the real thing. The studios are all multinational companies, and I don't have a problem with that, just so we say it. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're going to have multinational? Fine. Studio? Fine. Movies worldwide? Fine. Got it. Okay. But here's the thing. In this town, in LA, and throughout the United States, the studios control access. And let me tell you, from somebody who worked Sony, Columbia, TriStar press junkets for 6 years, I'll tell you exactly how it works. Those studios, when they're going to promote a movie, they bring the director, the stars, everybody in. They clear out the 14th floor of the Beverly Hills Four Seasons or some other big hotel like that. They set up shooting rooms, and they bring in all of the stars, the director, everybody you're going to want to talk to. And then they pay the plane ticket for 60 entertainment reporters from out the United States, and they fly them on the studio's dime out to the hotel, put them up in the nice Beverly Hills hotel, feed them luxuriously, and they get to spend 4 minutes with the celebrity or the director or all that. The studio pays for the videotape or the chip or whatever they put it on. They hand them their piece afterwards, and they control it all the way to handing it to the reporter before they leave and go back to their little hometown with the 3 stations, and they got the exclusive for the movie that weekend. Okay, that's how it works. When you have that kind of power over that many TV stations, and you've got, for every one TV station in that town, there's 2 more that wants to be in with the studio, you know what I mean? They control the press. So the press is very careful about what they report on from the studios. They will report it if the story is big enough. They won't report anything like this because it's just going to piss the studios off, okay? And I assure you, you piss Netflix off, you've pissed off Sony, and you've pissed off Warner Brothers, and you've pissed off Paramount, because they don't work in a vacuum. You know, they're all out there. So this is the big fish stepping on the little fish, essentially, and getting away with it. And I like Alfonso Cuarón, too. I think he's a brilliant filmmaker. I think he's a good guy. I'll bet donuts to dollars he got put in a bad position, and he doesn't have the power to make it better. But I wished he would come out and tell people straight exactly what happened on that movie and exactly who did what. That's what I want to know, is just come out, tell us the truth, give the guy the credit he deserves, and be done with it, for God's sake. You know?
Yep.
So, I'm sorry. I'll get back on medication tomorrow. No. This time I mean it. But anyway, so that's where we're at. That's where we're at with that. I'm sorry,
it's definitely
guys.
a slippery slope we don't want to go down.
Well, yeah.
We don't want to see this happen.
You certainly don't want to be the guy they put on the slippery slope.
Sure.
I'll tell you that. Because now, look, the guy, I hope I say his name enough where somebody will at least look it up. You know what I mean? But well, that guy, look, how would you feel if you were on the DP of the show being shot and won an Academy Award and the guy doesn't even say your name up there?
True.
I mean, that's terrible. It should not happen. Anyway, okay, I think I'm over it now. Okay, hold on. I've got another, yeah, look out. On fire on this one. So there's one other story, and this is going to lead into what I want to talk to you about, because I know you teach on negotiations, and I think we're in desperate need of that right now. How far are we into the show, guys?
30 minutes.
Oh, we are? Let's show a commercial. Let's go to a commercial.
We have this?
Oh, yeah, we have commercials.
I love it.
It's all about me. Hi, I'm Burnie. I own Burnie's Grip and Lighting, San Diego Grip and Lighting, and Los Angeles Grip and Lighting. You know, we pride ourselves on not only renting you the best equipment, but also giving you the best crews. And one of our core values here at Burnie's Grip and Lighting is that we give you the highest production value in the world. And remember, people used to say national, local. No. We present world-class production value on every set. We also know budgets are very tight these days, and you've got 10 hours to get what you need in the can. We move ahead, we move fast, and we know what you need. When you rent from Burnie's Grip and Lighting, you have a partner on your production for that day that is making sure you are well taken care of. So anytime you're in Southern California, give us a call at 714-609-3545, and we'll take very good care of you. See you on set. Hello, everybody. We're back with our great friend, Chris Howland.
Good to see you.
Chris, this is something, now this was kind of the point you and I were talking about the other day and stuff, and talking about negotiations. Let me start this off, and it's about rates. Right. It really comes down to about rates, right?
Yep.
I know we've talked about this just prior to the show. I have been, well, let me just say this. I've turned down 2 jobs in the last week because they didn't have the rate for crew. Now, they had my rate for the gear, but they wouldn't pay my guys what I thought they needed to make, which was, at a base, it's $550 for 10. That's where I put guys out. All these people are hitting me up for a $350 for 12.
And this is for your crew members.
My crew members, correct. My key members. You know, like say it's a small interview job. I'm going to send one guy out. They want to send that one guy out for $350 for 12. And before I make anybody mad or seem spoiled, you know, this is good money. If somebody, wherever you're at, is going to pay you $350 for 12 hours, it's a fine, respectable wage. But I want to talk about this industry and when you live in Los Angeles.
Yeah, those are the 2 differences.
Those are the differences, and they make a difference. That is not something to scoff at. Okay, so in Los Angeles, and this is in a post that I did, you can find it on my Facebook site, it was about last week or so. On my Facebook site, I posted an article about people living in their cars, and the quote I took out from that is that to live comfortably in Los Angeles, right, you need to make over $87,000 a year.
Right.
Okay? Living comfortably is described as having a 1-bedroom single apartment. So you live by yourself in a 1-bedroom apartment. It provides for fuel, for car, for transportation, for all of that, for your food, for everything else. And it allows some savings in that amount and some money for non-necessity purchases. Like maybe you want to go for a vacation for a week that year, something like that, you know. But this is $87,000 is living low in LA. Okay, let me put some numbers that we think about and understand. To make $87,000 a year, you need 149 $600 days a year to bring that amount in, and that is pre-tax, pre-payroll. You need to clear that $600 for 149 days a year. 149 days a year is 12 days a month for 12 months. You've been in the business for a long time. I've been in the business for a long time. And also I have surveyed people from Turkey to Japan to Argentina to Finland about the average days they work. In the big markets like LA is, the average that I consistently came up with was 12 days a month. And that is 3 days a week, obviously. But the way the week lays out and the way production works, that's the most likely that you're going to, some months you're going to do 8, some months you're going to do 16, but the average is 12, right?
Right, yeah, and I think there's a distinction to be made from whether you're doing narrative episodics or feature films, you're probably working more.
Yes.
But if you are a day player and you're freelancing and you're just doing commercials, corporate jobs.
That's a very good point. Yes.
Work, then then it'll probably be around 12.
Yes, yes. And if you are on that regular show, you know that you're getting 5 days a week, hey, hallelujah. Right. But you're probably making a slightly lower rate than the top at 600. So whatever that average is, that's what you've got to come up to do that. You know, people, here's, Sean, go to this camera, would you? Go to my close-up. I want you to listen to this. I want you to listen to this. Okay. When somebody offers you $350 for 10 or 12, you've got to fight for your rate. You have to fight for your rate. Okay? And I mean that it's that important. You can't just accept it. You have to give pushback. And you have to sell yourself. I can't sell you. I can tell you, my clients, that you cost that much, but you have to sell yourself. And you know what? When they don't come to you, you have to do the hardest thing in the world. you've got to say no and lose the job, not work that day. Because the only person that is going to push you forward is you. It's not that producer, it's not the director, it's not the camera guy who wants you. You have to push yourself forward. And I want you to think about that, because if you're not going to make a living wage now, but you're not even going to be a player in 5 years or 10 years, because you're going to be a low boy. Are you going to compete with every new person coming out of film school? Or are you going to be the person who creates production value? That's the decision you have to make. Or you can live in your car like a lot of these people are doing to cut costs because the money's not there. Push back. Push back. And the raises can change. And they will change, but everybody is testing the waters to push them down. They don't test the waters to push them up. That's what you do. As soon as enough production managers, production companies, directors, DPs, whomever, get that pushback often enough and hear it, they won't hear it from everybody, but they'll start getting the guys they really want, they're getting the pushback from, they will raise the rate. So, there you go. That is what I have to say. And this man right here is the reason that we're talking about that, because I want to talk, I know you have taught a lot of people and talked a lot about negotiations. So right. Somewhere pick it up for me.
I hacked through learning how to negotiate when I was making a living as a drummer and as a musician and recording engineer, working at various studios with various projects. That's where I basically learned the process. Right. But honestly, it wasn't until I want to say 3 years ago when a really good friend of mine, Blas Kisich, came to me. He's very passionate about the issue within the sound community of how do we teach people, new people coming into our craft, how do we teach them how to negotiate for themselves? Well, somebody's got to step up and say, this is what you're worth. Even if you haven't, even if you have a very thin resume, you've made the investment in gear, which can be pretty substantial. Yeah. And you have to understand what your worth is, not just to you, but to the community around you.
Yes.
Because when you do those negotiations, you're not only negotiating for yourself, you're kind of negotiating for everybody else too.
Absolutely.
So, because we all have to stick together. He really infected me with this. I give Blas Kisich a lot of credit. So he's the one that brought it onto my radar. He's the one that came up with the bullet points. We've put on seminars for our production sound group on Facebook, and we have these usually at the local 80 sound stage up in Burbank. Okay. And I don't know, is Burbank that way? I don't know.
Yeah, it's that way.
That way.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but
you're in Orange County. You're totally lost if you're from LA.
Somewhere.
I can assure you.
I'm in Orange County. And this is green. You can't see it, but it's green. So we've had, I think, 3 or 4 seminars now where we've had anywhere from 40 to 60 people show up, and it's a panel discussion format where where we deal with mostly production sound related negotiations, but any freelancer can benefit from it.
Yes, absolutely.
In the seminar itself, we have a panel discussion, and there's usually a representative who does film and TV. There's another representative that does mostly commercials, and then we'll have another representative that does ENG, almost exclusively ENG work.
Okay, great. So you have a couple of different areas
of it.
Yes, yes. I think that's really important.
But what it boils down to is that when it comes to negotiation, and a lot of it I learned from my wife too. She's a lawyer, and she works for one of the major studios as a negotiator. What is he saying?
I don't know. Tony's trying to tell you. What's going on, Tony?
We're just getting a lot of crap from the pack. I think it might be bumping up against a chair.
Yeah. Okay. How's that?
Here. Hold on. Yeah, cool. Just maybe hold.
Good.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
Better?
Yeah, when you do live production, there's always,
I'm a production sound mixer.
Yeah.
Exactly how this works. You should have seen me try to lab myself earlier. I was like, I've never done this to myself. Is it straight? I can't see it. No, but I learned a lot from my wife too. She's a lawyer. Is it still crazy?
No, it's good.
Okay.
She's a lawyer for one of the studios. She negotiates all day, every day with some of the toughest agents in Hollywood. Wow. She is a great deal smarter than I am. So, I was able to piece together, what I did when I was a musician to what Blas and I talk about, and then what she does on a daily basis. I don't know the individual aspects of her deals or anything, but at least I know the language of it.
Right.
And there's also there's a structure to it.
Sure.
So anytime, I remind everybody, it's like when you see an ad on Facebook, or like back in the day it was Craigslist or Mandy or whatever. When you see a posted number, people might be quick to assume, oh, that's a horrible rate, and then I remind them that's not a rate, that's an offer, and it doesn't become a rate until you say it's okay.
Oh, very good.
So
very
it's
good.
not a rate. They may say rate, because of course they want you to believe that's the rate.
Right.
But it's not.
But that's an offer.
It's an offer.
Okay.
It's an offer, and that's how you should treat it. And if you get the producer on the phone, then you obviously have to qualify the job. You have to figure out what it is. I mean, because the number doesn't make any sense unless you know what the job is.
Yeah.
So you ask questions. If we're lucky, we end up with a producer who is okay with sharing details with us. They will tell us everything we need to know about the creative aspect, who's paying for it, how many cameras we're shooting with, where we're going to be, any special conditions, are we driving anywhere, driving shots, are we at rain rigs, what are we doing? And then from that you can kind of deduce what they need and then what it should cost. So that's when you can start talking about a number. I mean, if it's narrative, I like to read a script.
Right.
I want to know what the situation is.
How many days are we doing? What is the environments we're in?
True.
That's it. How many people are talking at a given time?
That all affects the number.
Yeah.
I have certain things that I can cover that's built in my practices and in my gear that I know. It's just like, fine, I can cover that. But it's always those unforeseens that you want to ask about.
Right.
And most of the time, at least for sound, producers sometimes have a hard time figuring out what we need to know.
Right.
So it's up to us to ask.
Well, you know what? I think you hit upon a very, very good thing. I came, and I know you did too, we came from a world where guys like Tony hired us. He knew the questions they asked. He knew what we needed to do.
Yeah, and Tony is an editor. He knows.
He knows. He knows everything that he is. But you know what? There was a whole class of producers that were wiped out after 2009, about 10 years ago. And they were replaced by younger people. And I have felt since then, and this is not blanket by any means, but I talked to a lot of people who are new, and it seems like they put them in charge of hiring the crew when they haven't had much set experience, And a lot of times they won't know the questions that I'm asking or knowing and what dealing. Sometimes I even feel like, we have to have lunch at 6 hours, I mean, that is part of the deal. They have to eat.
And 6 is not the standard. 6 is the very latest you can have
thank
it.
You. Yeah, you can have it before 6.
You can have it at 4 hours or 5 hours, but no, 6 is the latest. And so they always, they push it to the very end all the time.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I get it. We have stuff to get done, but
So have you noticed that there are people that are just, it's tough to get a decision out of them or get information out of them? I do a lot of this where people are going, let me call you back, let me find that out, or they just don't know. I mean, it just has not been decided yet.
When the phone rings, you don't necessarily know who you have on the other end, so you kind of have to not only ask the questions about the project, but you need to size them up too.
Qualify them a little bit.
Yeah, you need to size them up too. I have a couple of ways of doing that. It's, it could be as simple as asking for an insurance cert. It's like, hey, let me send you my email you can send me that insurance cert over. And any producer worth their salt will be like, no problem. Just give me, and they just take care of it.
Yeah.
Every now and then you run into somebody that's like, oh, send me red flag. So that's how you at least know that maybe you're not talking to a decision maker.
Yes.
That at least that's what that tells you.
Yes.
But it's qualifying the job, it's qualifying the producer. Every now and then you do get people on the phone that are kind of fishing. They just want to know your rate, or they don't really, either they don't have the information about the creatives that you want to know, or they're just not patient enough to tell you.
Yeah.
Sometimes they want to give you just enough information to say yes. And if when the phone rings, you're looking at it going, that's rent, you're the person they're looking for.
Right.
So, you want to, those are the people that, I want them to have the conversation with me.
Yeah.
I want them to do the dance of the negotiation. And it basically, the basic structure always works out like, they have an offer. They should give you a number. Some people will ask you for a number first. I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that
You're the
either.
one with the budget.
Yeah.
You're the one with the line item budget, and you're the one that tells me what you have. But if you don't want to, sometimes they'll ask me, and I'll throw it back.
I do is I go high.
I'll be, I'll tell you. Okay, Tony?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, good.
We just have problems with that pack for some reason.
My pack?
Yeah.
Oh, it would be my pack.
Of course.
It's not electro.
The sound guy, we got a
Of course.
We got a problem with it.
I think, you know what, I think it's potential battery problem.
It's not electro, and it's not a
I just saw it go
Zaxcom.
red for a second.
That's all okay. I gotta say.
Buy electrosonic.
Yeah.
Did we die?
Yeah, it's got a little bit. No,
You know what, let's go to a commercial, guys. Can we get them something else? Or
Yeah, we'll
yeah,
get
let's
that.
do that. All right. We'll be right back with your comment and question. We'll be right back. Give us some questions.
Oh, the irony.
He wants to answer them.
Burnie's workshop is fantastic. Burnie's workshop is awesome. Burnie's workshop is insightful.
Burnie, in one word, passionate maybe. You can tell he really cares a lot.
Burnie is a badass.
He's a great teacher. He has great stories, and I would recommend this to anyone. Not only someone like me who's starting day one, but you know, I feel that in any profession, as you sharpen your sword, it always gets sharper.
I think the best thing about this is the access to understanding how to run your business, how to actually be in this filmmaking industry and make money at it. Coming to this workshop, I think, is what actually gets you the tools to understand how to do that, how to get out there and sell yourself.
I thought that was really cool. I thought, he knows all the tricks in the book, and he knows how to show that to us and actually demonstrate it so we actually know what he's talking about.
I really like the hands-on experience. That's something that you don't find a lot, but something you have to go on set a lot to just appreciate.
I know this is lighting seminar, but it's not only talk about lightings. He also share his business experience, personal experience, and guide us to what we should do, what kind of personality we should have in this business.
His stories, I think that kind of say everything, all in a few example stories that he gives out from time to time.
I would recommend this workshop to anybody who's just brand new to the industry, people who just don't know the swing of it. A lot of the stuff they don't teach you in film school.
I deal with a lot of freelancers every day, a lot of peers that I went to school with, a lot of professionals in the field, and they all need to take this class because it puts you on the next level, on the next playing field.
Burnie's a great guy. Burnie's really authentic. Like everything he learns, everything he teaches, the way he handles himself, the way he deals with other people, he's a one-of-a-kind guy. Someone I've never come across before in the industry, and someone I hope to emulate and hope that there are more people like him out there that can help.
At the base.
Hey everybody, we're back, and I think we're over our little trauma. Tony, I guess we got some questions or comments here.
We have a comment. I think maybe you guys should talk about our good friend Skip Bowers, who's enjoying our audio problems. Actually has a comment. Getting good rates is about negotiating and not talent.
Oh, I personally disagree. I think negotiation, I think your talent is what got you on the phone with that person to negotiate. So I think talent is first, dedication is first, you know, professionalism is first, you know. I think the money comes second, and I think it's easier to get if you have all three of those things.
Yeah, I think your ability to negotiate is a separate it should be a separate thing than your talent for actually doing the job.
Yes, agreed.
I think, you know, you negotiate first so that you can get on the job and be talented.
Yes, exactly.
So
exactly,
you know,
and you could maybe you could negotiate your way in once. Mm-hmm. But if you have no talent when you're on set, you ain't coming back twice.
Yeah.
Right?
You want to.
I mean, you got it once, you know. But I found out a long time ago that getting on set once has zero value.
Right.
Getting on set over 20 years has a great value.
Yeah, it feels good when you get that third, fourth, fifth call from the same producer or creative entity that likes what you bring to the table.
Yes.
And you start to get in a stride with them creatively. You know how they think, they know how you think. Everything gets a little easier.
Yes.
And I've had multiple jobs with certain producers that they're very straight up with me. They're like, when they have the money, they pay it.
Yeah.
And then there might be other jobs where it's like, this is the lay of the land. This is how it's going to go. And you know, you either trust them or you don't. I usually trust them because they've paid more when they can, and I'm just assuming that this is the one time that, you know what, you know, we're a team. I'm going to kick it in and help them.
Well, you know what? Even them starting with that approach with you, that to me gives me some real ease, because I'm thinking, okay, you know how this works. You know, we both have client budgets.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're my budget, and somebody else is your budget. you know where you can live. I much prefer that honesty. And just like you said something too, and this is where I go because, you know, I'm an equipment guy, so it's equipment, it's different levels and different size shoots and stuff like that. I say first, if you will, if you trust me, and I hope you trust me if you're asking me out to your set, give me your budget because I could probably make your budget stretch further than you can if we start with this unknown amount and just what you need.
The cat and mouse game of it.
Once I understand what you're going after, that makes it easier for me to give you a deal.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So I think that's very important.
But there's that basic structure of a negotiations. What we were talking about earlier is there's the initial offer, and they will try to get a number out of you first. And if that's the case, you know, I've given them a range. I'll say, look, if I'm on a commercial, I'm making $888 for 10. Right. And then gear starts at $800 for a basic bag rig, and then my boom op, you know, get them $600. Yeah. And this is non-union, but that's where I'll start. And obviously this is not a commercial, you know, but I've worked on other shoots that, you know, the budgets vary. So tell me what you have. Let's find the common ground here. Right. And so once you get the initial offer out of them, what it is. You know, then you ask questions about the job. What are you going to need to bring? What do you need to provide? And then you know, let's say they hit you with a lower number. Well, then you come up with a counter, and that's a counter offer, and that's what you come up with. And I've said that on the phone. They're like, well, I think we can do this, and then I'll start messing with my calculator. I'll start thinking about things, how many hours they need, how far are we driving. And then, you know, I'll say to them, you know what, I'll need to counter that, but I want it to be a thoughtful counter. Yeah. So give me a second. Yeah. And that's part of the process. So I will counter with something, and then I usually have, you know, a set of gives that is things that are that I can offer them in exchange for more money.
Give me an example.
So an example of a give is. If it's, I couldn't do this on a feature or a long-term project, but on a day or 2 days or whatever, I can, since I use a lot of rechargeable batteries, you know, Comtex and stuff, but I also keep a back stock of expendables, batteries, tape, lav mounting supplies, all that stuff. Sure. Any producer knows they should have an expendables budget for sound. Of course. And depending on how many people we have to lav, how much stuff we have to buy. For features, it's been a few $1,000s, you know. But
during the course of the film, total.
Yeah, but for a day or two on a commercial, I can say, look, if you can bump this rate up to this amount, I'll cover the expendables. I'll take care of batteries, all the ancillary costs, and we'll show up ready to go. And because even then, you
know your budget's not going to move on you. Yeah. You know exactly how much
I remind them that a brick of lithium batteries is
how much that costs?
$100. You know, so you know that they're expensive. Yeah. And so you know, it's like, look, I will take care of that. But I'll need you to come up to this. Yeah. And so that way they will give you something if you give something back to them. Right. And so that's a give.
And they feel, I think, emotionally too, like there's been an exchange here. You know, and I think that's really important. Right. You want to feel like people are playing with you and it's not just give.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, it's like you know, rent 10 C stands for me, I'll throw in the arms for free. Yeah. But you know what I mean. Yeah. Right. You know, it's like buying a piano, the black keys are free.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it's a give, and those in every craft has something that they can work on to say, hey, you know, at that stage when you need to counter, you give them the counter, but you also offer a give, right? And see if that compels them to say yes to that, because at least for them, it may be about just them saying, you know, they're gonna have to go back to their boss and say, well, why did you give them more? It's like, well, they offered to do this for us, and they're like, okay.
They have something to take.
They have something to explain to cover them. Yes. And we're not asking for anything out of the ordinary. We're not asking. I've never overpriced anything just to overprice anything. Right. You know, it's like when you're just figuring out what you want for a day rate or for a gear rental. I mean, you're at 3 to 4% of the gear's value per day. That's what you want to ask for. Right. And you know, we have $100,000 into our sound package. Oh yeah. And we still we don't get anywhere near $3,000 a day for our gear.
No way.
But so we work for what we can get. We work for what makes sense for the show. But those are the steps. You know, the offer. Then you have. Then you want to give them a counter. Yes. See what they do with it. And if they don't move, then you offer a give.
Give.
This is what it takes back and forth. And then you know, if they have to leave and go talk to somebody, one of the other terms I've heard used in other industries is putting a clock on it and say, well, you know what, let me know by Friday. I'll hold this day for this long, but you got to let me know by Friday, or else, you know, I can take another job.
Right.
You know,
right.
But,
no, that's a good
but
point.
put a clock on it. Always kind of let them know that you do have somewhere else you can go. You know, this is, you know, it's
that's
it's
a good
fine.
little trick. You know, sometimes I'll text in, or usually it's not. I've got multiple trucks, so I've always got jobs going on. But I'll go, got a conflict on Friday. Any word. You know what I mean? Not to push them.
Something else came up. But
just let them know, like, by Wednesday, this is the decision day for me.
Yeah.
Because if I need extra gear, I've got to get it. I've got to make sure the truck's ready for Friday morning. Yeah. You know, we have to know now.
And if you're dealing with a producer that knows the process, they might call you back with a last and final.
Yes.
And say, you know what, we talked to our people, but this is our last and final.
And you know what, that's good news, because now you know what's on the table.
You do, and you can decide whether it works for you. You know, and you know, there's variables. You know, because for us as production sound people, our gear and equipment package is a condition of hire for us. So you know, it's you know, we're usually hired on by the UPM or somebody who's more logistical in nature with the shoot. So you know, our gear rental that we negotiate is a condition of hire for us. Our, you know, the rates that we get for our crew are condition of hire. We usually do that negotiation, you know, for our utility and for our boom ops. But yeah, and you know, there's things you ask for in respect to those too. You know, what we talked about was just the process in regards to us. But then there's the issue of the crew comes up, where if it's a union show, you know, you might want to try and get them, you know, even though it's a long-running show, you might want to try and get them the daily rate instead of the weekly. So instead of a boom op working a Y8 boom op, that you might want to get them a job, you know, say, hey, let's pay them as a Y4. It's a higher rate. And then they'll come back with, well, we can pay them Y8 daily. Which is not as high, but still better than the weekly. So,
you know, and
you might have just only wanted that daily, but you asked for the higher thing, so they come back to what you want.
But they come back. But you know what? And here's the thing that I think you know this intuitively. But if you have a client who's interested only in rate, you don't have a client.
No,
you have somebody who needs a sound person or a gaffer or a grip. You know what I mean? This is what I always come back to. Every single one of us should be out there fighting for clients. You want to impress the people. You want to make them remember what a fantastic job you did. They don't, if they see you keeping your mouth shut, you know, don't hear from you, don't see you on your phone, being attentive, ears open, I think is always the biggest thing for my guys. You know what I'm saying? Listening to what the director and DP are talking about.
Same as what we do.
Yep, just go in there, being proactive, all of that stuff. That's how you get a client. And that's the only person that's worth negotiating with. Because if it's just somebody who wants a soundman, then you give them, I say, top dollar and take it or leave it.
Well, and you're going to get calls from randos all the time, you know, which that's part of the game. But going through the structure of this negotiation, it's a dance back and forth. It's a demonstration of your personality against their personality, and then you get to have a back and forth conversation. You could be pumping gas and the phone rings and you're on. So this is you've always got to be ready for it.
Ooh, that's a really good point. That's a really good point.
And I'll even add that when you even if the job is an incredibly low job that you think, man, there's no way they're going to get up to $600 or $800 a day or whatever I want. Make the call. Have the conversation anyway, because the practice of having the conversation, you have no skin in the game at that point. Talk to them. See what they have to say. Say no at the end. You know, but you don't turn down the conversation ever, because in this business, if you can at least have one good conversation with somebody, even if you don't turn it into a job, they're going to leave the conversation knowing that was a reasonable person.
That was a reasonable person. I like that person. I'm remembering
and you
them.
Never know when they come back again.
Well, and our industry is very unique in the fact that somebody works at a production company for 3 years somewhere. I call them cluster bomb clients, because all of them go to different agencies. Now you got 5 different agencies calling you because you made one good relationship in the beginning. And that will take you in, and really that's how our career goes. Now, you hold on, say out of the 5, you hold on to 2 of those that are regular. You've just increased 100% that client.
And the idea is after if you really work on your negotiating skills and you have as many of these conversations as you can, you try to leave a good impression on whoever you're talking to, even if they're not nice to you.
Yes.
Like, this is the other thing. You're not going to win any crusades in one phone call.
No.
So it's not worth putting that reputation out there.
Right.
But you can have this conversation, you can go through the dance, you can get better at it, and then when it really does matter, it's a good thing. You're well honed. And the best thing is that after 3, 4, 5 years of doing this, hopefully you will end up in a place where you have 10, 12, 20 clients that you know personally. They're used to your work, and you're not working for randoms anymore. And that's where your power comes from, because now the phone rings. You're not looking at the phone ringing as rent. Now you're looking at the phone ring going as, you're thinking,
you don't have to take the job.
Let's see if this is somebody I want to work with.
Yeah.
Are they going to stimulate me? Are they going to have good projects that I want to work on?
Yeah.
That's when you're truly negotiating from a place of strength. You have your catalog of clients that love you, they keep bringing you back, and that is when you get put in the driver's seat finally.
I love it.
So, and that's the point you want to work towards. Nobody wants to keep taking cold calls 20 years into this business, relying on the cold call to pay my rent. That's not the way to be.
Because you'll die, and you have to do. It's just like the sales guy who hasn't made a sell in a month, and he's got to make this one. He'll never make it until he doesn't care anymore.
Yeah,
and then he'll make the sale. You know, because it's the same thing. You just desperation. You can smell.
Yes.
You can feel it.
You can.
And something makes you want to stay away from it. I think it's our preservation of life instinct or something. When somebody's in trouble, I need to be away from that. I don't want that with me, you know. So I think that's very, very, man, these are just such great tips. Just such great tips. Tell me something just real quick, and I think we got, how many, 2 minutes left? 1 minute left. Tell me, what's the way you started out looking for clients? How'd you do it?
I started at AFI. And I worked in the directing women's workshop. And where they had a slew of films that needed to be made. And I don't know if it was through Craigslist or Mandy, but I ended up on the AFI campus. And I worked on a lot of thesis films, student films. And then the directing women's workshop was a whole different program where I worked with a handful of really talented up-and-coming directors and producers. And the cool thing about that is that I met one producer that I just love dearly. We worked on so many projects over the years. Her name's Nancy Leopardi. And I didn't find out until years later that she had actually been turned down for the Directing Women's Workshop. I met her when she was producing one of those projects. But it wasn't until years later that I found out that, you know, she was like, yeah, I tried to go up for that, and I was denied, but they made me a producer instead, so I just went with that. And I was like, well, you're an amazing producer. It's great. I mean, she has been able to do so much with so little. It's been really cool to see her develop. But then the day finally came where she directed her first feature, and I got to work with her on that.
So great.
And I was just like, you're in the director's chair
That's
now.
it.
That's so awesome.
That's it.
So it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. So
how does somebody get a hold of Chris Howland?
My email is lasoundmixer@mac.com. I leave like a trail like a caterpillar on Facebook, so you can find me there. I mentor I admin a few of the groups for production sound here in LA. So one is called LA Sound Mixers. We have a public portal on Facebook, but we also have a private discussion page that, you know, if you can check out the public page and see if you want to.
If you like it, maybe you get invited in and
for sure.
do on the show.
Yeah.
Brother, thank you so much, Chris. It's so great to see you again, buddy.
You too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, my man. And you know what? We'll be back next week with Burnie's Applebox. Have a good one. Cut. That's a wrap.